about all the interference from Leek he cared to endure. It was also terrifically frustrating. When Millikin engineered a thunderstorm to soak Cecil down to his tighty-whities, Leek conjured up a bright yellow rain slicker with matching boots to boot. When the cat summoned a legion of chicken pox to ruin Cecil's holiday vacation, Leek answered with a rare strain of immunoglobulin known as Vulpus carnivorus, which promptly ate the chicken pox whole. And when Millikin somehow managed to surround the Bean residence in a ring of steaming green dog poop, so that Cecil would be sure to step in multiple piles, Leek produced a tribe of dung beetles, who rolled the poop away in tidy little balls and played bocce. After a veritable lifetime of defeat, Millikin had endured quite enough, in large part because it made him so deeply unhappy. Millikin had spoken at length with his therapist, who concluded quite logically that Leek was the root of the problem. For with every crushing loss, Millikin's confidence waned. His self-worth contracted, and all that remained was a nagging sense of ennui, which is a $5 word for depression. It was all Leek's fault, his therapist had announced. Millikin would never ever know true joy, so long as that meddlesome magic rabbit was foiling all his plans. That's when Millikin had the most sinister idea of his life trademark. What would happen, wondered Millikin, if he were to cross Leek's path rather than Cecil's? Now, it was just about this time that a very curious sort of caravan emerged from the northern wilds and clickety-clacked its way rather ominously toward the centre of town. Unlike a proper caravan, this caravan wasn't crimson red and sparkly gold, filled with acrobats and paper hats and soda-pop freezing cold. No, this caravan was dusty and crusty, and hauled by a feeble affair, a rickety rickshaw built on the cheap with parts from a Chevy Corvair. All this caravan contained were a few shoddy parlour tricks and one conniving old man who called himself a magician. His name was the Great Imbroglio, and on his head he wore a tall black hat that didn't really belong to him but was at the time in his possession. The following morning Leek emerged from his hole in the garden and readied himself for work. Cecil was just departing the little Bean cottage, and Leek decided that if he could manage it, the boy would have an exceptionally lucky day, possibly something involving chocolate eclairs. The magic rabbit thusly hopped off to follow Cecil as he set about his errands. What Leek had failed to notice was that just ahead of him a dark and shadowy feline form had snuck across his path, forming an invisible line of ill luck, which Leek unwittingly stepped across. Precisely 6 seconds later, Leek saw the turnip. It was just sitting there, big as you please, smelling for all the world like the most delectable turnip that ever was. As the turnip's savoury bouquet wafted invitingly in Leek's direction, his whiskers twitched, and his stomach growled rather crudely. It would be a disservice to Cecil, reasoned Leek, were I not to fortify myself with this turnip. But when Leek hoisted the turnip, which truly was a specimen of the very highest quality, everything went black. The turnip, you see, was more than just a turnip. It was bait. Needless to say, the day did not go even mildly well for Cecil. The boy couldn't remember a more unlucky day in his life. Millikin considered it a great victory that when Cecil arrived home that evening his knees were scraped, his toes were stubbed, and his marbles were all quite lost, through holes in each of his pockets. Positively reeking from a chance encounter with an unreasonably territorial skunk, poor Cecil Bean had even contracted a rare breed of poison ivy that, for whatever reason, affects only one's bottom. The only thing that might possibly have salvaged Cecil's day was the magic show. All the village children were abuzz with excitement, and as dusk settled forebodingly over the town, a sizable crowd assembled around the mysterious caravan of the Great Imbroglio, who emerged from within in a burst of purple smoke.
"My name," said the Great Imbroglio, "is the Great Imbroglio.